Fuck you, bitch.
Imagine being at the peak of your career, holding the UFC Featherweight Championship, and then deciding to give it all up for a new challenge. Sounds crazy, right? But that's exactly what Ilia Topuria did. A rising star, Topuria shocked the MMA world when he vacated his hard-earned title and moved up to the lightweight division. But why would a champion make such a bold move? This is the story of his unexpected decision, his journey to greatness, and what this all means for his legacy. Let's get into the making of a true legend. Ilia Topuria's story begins in Halle, Germany, where he was born to Georgian parents who had fled the conflict in Abkhazia. Growing up in a refugee family wasn't easy, but it didn't stop Ilia from dreaming big. When he was just 7 years old, his family moved back to Georgia, where Ilia's athletic journey kicked off. At school, he discovered his passion for Greco-Roman wrestling, a sport that would lay the foundation for his future in combat sports. Wrestling wasn't just a hobby. It was a way for him to feel empowered in a world that often felt uncertain. But life threw more challenges his way. In 2008, after the Russo-Georgian War, Ilia and his family packed up once again, this time moving to Alicante, Spain. Starting fresh in a new country is never easy, especially when you're a teenager. But Ilia wasn't going to let that slow him down. He quickly adapted to his new life while continuing to excel in sports, especially in wrestling. By the time he was 15, Ilia had already achieved significant success in Greco-Roman wrestling, but it wasn't enough. He wanted more. That's when he stumbled upon Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it was a game changer. Wrestling had given him the solid foundation he needed, but Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu offered him a new world of possibilities in mixed martial arts. His decision to pursue MMA full-time was a no-brainer. He saw it as the ultimate challenge, and he wasn't about to back down. With a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under his belt and a newfound passion for MMA, Ilia knew his destiny lay inside the cage. But little did anyone know, this was just the beginning of what would become one of the most meteoric rises in UFC history.
Topuria is an undefeated force. His power is phenomenal.
Topuria's meteoric rise wasn't without its bumps, but each fight brought him closer to his destiny. Let's take a look at how he went from regional champion to a global contender. Ilia Topuria's journey to the UFC was nothing short of meteoric. He began his professional MMA career in 2015, quickly making a name for himself on Spain's regional circuits. In June 2018, he faced Brian Boulan at Cage Warrior Choke in the first round, showcasing his grappling prowess. Seeking greater competition, Topuria joined Brave Combat Federation in 2019. In his debut at Brave CF26 in Colombia, he submitted Luis Gomez in the first round. Later that year, at Brave CF29 in Bahrain, he delivered a stunning first-round knockout against Steven Goncalves, earning him the Performance of the Night award. Topuria's UFC debut came on October 10, 2020 at UFC Fight Night 179 in Abu Dhabi. Stepping in on short notice to replace Seung-Woo Choi, he faced Youssef Zalal. Topuria showcased his wrestling skills, earning a unanimous decision victory with scores of 29-28 from all three judges. With an undefeated record and a series of impressive victories, Topuria quickly ascended the UFC ranks. But this was just the beginning of his journey. Topuria was about to embark on a path that would lead him to the UFC Featherweight Championship, and with it, a chance to solidify his place among the greats. This was just the beginning of Ilia Topuria's rise to greatness. After his early victories in the UFC, Topuria's momentum seemed unstoppable, and each win added another chapter to his growing legend. He began his UFC career with impressive wins over Damon Jackson, Ryan Hall, Jai Herbert, and Bryce Mitchell, each fighter representing a significant step up in competition. One of the most defining moments in Topuria's career came on December 10, 2022, at UFC 282, where he faced Bryce Mitchell. Mitchell, a submission specialist with a perfect record at the time, posed a serious challenge. However, Topuria's power and versatility proved to be too much for the Arkansas native. In a brilliant second-round submission, Topuria earned the Performance of the Night award. This win was more than just another notch on his belt. It cemented his status as a serious contender in the UFC's featherweight division. But the real defining moment of Topuria's career came on February 17, 2024, when he faced the reigning featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski, at UFC 298. Volkanovski, the Australian powerhouse, had dominated the featherweight division for years, with his unmatched durability, iron chin, and relentless work ethic. Known for his ability to overcome any opponent, Volkanovski had successfully defended his title against some of the best in the world, including Max Holloway, Brian Ortega, and Korean Zombie. However, Topuria was a different kind of threat. The Georgian-Spanish fighter wasn't just another challenger. He was a dynamic, well-rounded athlete who had a plan for every situation. From the moment the fight started, Topuria showed that he wasn't intimidated by the champion's reputation. The bout started with Volkanovski trying to press the action, using his usual combination of pressure and striking. But Topuria's footwork, timing, and unpredictability kept Volkanovski on the defensive. Topuria was in full control, landing sharp combinations and moving in and out of range with precision. The pivotal moment came in the second round, when Topuria landed a perfect counterpunch that rocked Volkanovski. Sensing an opportunity, Topuria unleashed a brutal barrage of punches that left Volkanovski dazed and unable to recover. The referee stepped in to stop the fight, and just like that, Topuria was the new UFC Featherweight Champion. The win was nothing short of historic. Not only had Topuria ended Volkanovski's 4-year reign as champion, but he had done so in emphatic fashion, knocking out one of the greatest featherweights of all time. The victory solidified Topuria's place among the sport's elite and marked the moment when he truly arrived on the global stage. The stunning knockout sent shockwaves through the MMA community, as Topuria proved that he was not just a rising star, he was the real deal. Topuria's victory was a statement, one that showed his incredible potential and undeniable talent. As a fighter who came into the UFC as a dangerous prospect, he had quickly turned into a world champion. The win also gave him the first major title defense of his career, and the road ahead promised even bigger challenges. The featherweight division would never be the same, and with the belt around his waist, Topuria's legacy was beginning to take shape. But as Topuria geared up for his first title defense, the pressure of maintaining his newfound status as champion was about to be tested in the most thrilling way. Holloway, a former 2-time champion, was renowned for his toughness, unrelenting pace, and striking accuracy. With a career full of iconic battles and a reputation as one of the best to ever compete in the featherweight division, the matchup generated immense hype. Fans were eager to see if Topuria could continue his dominance, or if Holloway's experience and heart would lead him to recapture the gold. It was a fight between the rising star and the seasoned veteran, a true crossroads for both fighters' careers. From the moment the bell rang, it was clear that Topuria was not intimidated by Holloway's pedigree. Topuria came out aggressive, showing off his striking precision and power. His boxing was on full display, and he was able to close the distance and land clean punches right from the start. Holloway, known for his relentless pressure, tried to push the pace, but found himself constantly on the back foot as Topuria controlled the tempo. In the third round, Topuria turned up the heat. Holloway, despite his usual durability, couldn't withstand the assault. A perfectly placed combination from Topuria rocked Holloway, and before Max could recover, Ilia landed a brutal knockout punch that sent Holloway crashing to the canvas. The knockout was so decisive that it left no questions about who the better fighter was that night. Holloway's resilience had been tested, and it was clear that Topuria's power, technique, and precision had elevated him to the top of the division. Topuria's ability to stop Holloway, who had never been knocked out before, was an incredible accomplishment. The knockout showed not only his power, but his growth as a fighter. This wasn't just a hard punch landing. It was a combination of strategic movements, perfect timing, and an understanding of Holloway's style that allowed Topuria to finish the fight when it mattered most. The fight earned Topuria the performance of the night bonus, and rightfully so. It wasn't just about winning, it was about how he won. Dominating a fighter of Holloway's caliber in such a decisive manner immediately cemented Topuria's place as one of the division's elite fighters. The win proved that he wasn't just a one-hit wonder. He was a new force in the featherweight division, one that would be hard to dethrone. With his dominant title defense behind him, Topuria's journey was far from over. He had his sights set on even greater challenges, starting with a potential rematch against the man he dethroned, Alexander Volkanovski. In February 2025, Ilia Topuria made a bold move that stunned the MMA world. He vacated his UFC Featherweight Championship and announced plans to ascend to the lightweight division. UFC President Dana White explained that Topuria felt he had accomplished all he could at 145 pounds and was no longer motivated to defend the title. Additionally, Topuria's body could no longer handle the rigorous weight cuts required for featherweight, his decision to move up. White emphasized that this was Topuria's personal choice, and the UFC supported his decision to pursue new challenges in the lightweight category. Topuria himself expressed that he no longer had the motivation to defend the featherweight title and was eager to move up in weight to see how he would fare against new competition. This decision also aligned with UFC's new policy, which prohibits fighters from holding titles in multiple weight classes simultaneously. As a result, Topuria's vacating of the featherweight title paved the way for Alexander Volkanovski and Diego Lopes to compete for the vacant belt at UFC 314. The MMA community had mixed reactions to Topuria's decision. Some fans and analysts praised his courage to seek new challenges, while others questioned the timing and the potential impact on the featherweight division. Regardless of the opinions, Topuria's move signifies a new chapter in his career, one that promises exciting matchups and the potential to make history in the lightweight division. As Topuria sets his sights on the lightweight title, the question remains, will he continue his undefeated streak and claim a second UFC championship, or will the challenges at 155 pounds prove too great? A new beginning. At just 28 years old, the Georgian-Spanish fighter made the unprecedented decision to vacate his featherweight title and move up to the lightweight division, setting his sights on an even greater challenge, the reigning lightweight champion, Islam Makhachev. Makhachev, a fighter known for his dominant grappling and precision striking, had established himself as one of the most formidable champions in the UFC. For Topuria, the move to lightweight was not just about the allure of new challenges, it was about legacy. He wasn't satisfied with just conquering one weight class. He wanted to prove he could be the best in two, and eventually solidify himself as one of the greatest fighters of all time. Facing Makhachev would be no easy task. Islam had been virtually unstoppable since becoming champion, and Topuria would need to bring his best skills, stamina, and strategy to compete at this higher level. The decision to move from featherweight to lightweight wasn't one that Topuria took lightly. The differences between the two divisions are vast. At 145 pounds, fighters like Volkanovski and Max Holloway are known for their speed, high-output striking, and incredible cardio. In contrast, the lightweight division is packed with more well-rounded fighters who often possess a combination of crisp striking and elite grappling. Makhachev, Charles Oliveira, and Justin Gaethje are just a few of the names that have dominated the lightweight ranks. For Topuria, the challenge wasn't just about fighting bigger opponents. It was about fighting against a wider variety of skills. Topuria himself has expressed that the decision to move up wasn't driven by a lack of competition at featherweight. In fact, the division was full of top-tier fighters, but Topuria was ready for a new test. As he put it, he had done everything he could at 145 pounds, and the weight cuts were starting to take their toll on his body. For a fighter of his size, consistently cutting down to 145 pounds became more difficult as his career progressed. Topuria's decision to vacate his title and move to lightweight speaks volumes about his character, his ambition, and his vision for his legacy. It's not every day that a fighter leaves behind a UFC championship to take on greater risks, especially when that title came as the culmination of years of hard work and sacrifice. But Topuria's mindset is about more than just collecting belts. It's about creating a legacy that transcends weight classes. He wants to be remembered as one of the best to ever compete, and that requires testing himself against the toughest opponents in multiple divisions. By vacating the featherweight title and stepping into the lightweight division, Topuria is showing the MMA world that he isn't content with simply being a champion. He wants to be a legend. This move could ultimately define his career. If Topuria succeeds in capturing the lightweight title, he would join a rare group of fighters who have held championships in multiple weight classes. His journey would become one of the greatest stories in MMA history, a tale of ambition, risk, and the pursuit of greatness. But if he falls short, the consequences are just as significant. The lightweight division is full of killers, and the road to the top will be a brutal one. But for a fighter with Topuria's mentality, these challenges are what make the journey worth it. Ilia Topuria's decision to vacate the featherweight title and move to lightweight has set the stage for what could be one of the most exciting chapters in UFC history. With his eyes set on new challenges, Topuria's journey promises to deliver unforgettable moments in the octagon. But what do you think? Will Topuria conquer the lightweight division and secure his place as a two-division champion, or will the challenges be too great? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more in-depth UFC stories and updates. You won't want to miss what happens next in Topuria's legendary career.